When we think about how things get organized, companies, social movements, even how information flows, chances are a very specific shape pops into your head. But what if that shape isn't the only way? What if it's not even the best way? Today, we're going to dig into a pretty radical alternative, the horizontal network. So on one side, you have the pyramid. We all know this one, right? It's top down, there's a clear chain of command, information goes up, orders come down. Simple. But on the other side, you've got the web. It's kind of messy, it's interconnected, and there's no obvious top or bottom. For centuries, we've basically built our entire world on the logic of that pyramid. But the web, well, that represents a really powerful, and I think you'll agree, an increasingly important alternative. And that really brings us to the core question for this whole explainer. In a world that's changing so fast, with all kinds of unexpected shocks, which one of these structures is actually more resilient? Which one is more adaptive, and ultimately, which one is more powerful? To figure that out, we first have to really understand the weaknesses that are kind of hiding inside that pyramid shape we all know so well. So let's start by breaking down the limits of top-down control. See, this familiar structure, it's got this critical fragility built right in. If you take out the leader at the very top, that single point of failure, the whole thing can just crumble. And every decision has to get pushed up through a few key people, which creates these huge central bottlenecks that slow everything down to a crawl. Information has to climb layer after layer, and you know what happens? It gets twisted and distorted along the way. This isn't just inefficient, it creates these really deep systemic vulnerabilities. Okay, so if the pyramid is so fragile, what's the alternative? This is where we get to introduce the idea of the horizontal network. It's a model that's built not on command, but on connection. So what exactly is a horizontal network? Well, at its core, it's a decentralized, non-hierarchical setup where all the information and the authority, it's all distributed laterally, sideways. So think about it this way. Instead of power flowing up and down a ladder, it's flowing across a level playing field. It is a fundamental shift in how we think groups can work together. The first big idea here is decentralization. There's no single headquarters, no one CEO calling all the shots. It's kind of like the internet itself. There's no central off switch you can just flip. Authority and resources are spread out across everyone in the network, which makes the whole system way more responsive, because the power to act is right there where the action is actually happening. The second key principle is that these networks are egalitarian. Now, that doesn't mean everyone has the exact same skill set, not at all, but it does mean they have equal status and a right to have their voice heard. By design, this just flattens out those power imbalances that you always see in a pyramid, and that usually leads to way more creative and collaborative outcomes. And finally, they are absolutely built on peer-to-peer interaction. You don't have to ask your manager for permission to talk to somebody in a different department. You just connect with them directly. This completely gets rid of those hierarchical bottlenecks we were talking about, and it speeds up communication and collaboration like you wouldn't believe. Okay, so we've got the principles down, but what do these networks actually look like? What's their structure? Let's take a look at the actual architecture of these connections. So the first key shape to think about is the mesh. Picture a fishing net. Every single point, or node, is connected to a bunch of other points. Now, if you cut one of those strings, the whole net doesn't just fall apart, right? It's the exact same principle that the internet's physical infrastructure is built on. If one data route gets blocked, information just finds another path. It's incredibly fault-tolerant just by its very nature. An even more powerful way to think about it is the rhizome. Think of something like a patch of bamboo or a ginger root. It's a root system that just grows horizontally, underground, and it can sprout a completely new plant from any point along its path. It has no center, no real beginning, and no end. This is the perfect model for a grassroots movement that can just spring up in multiple cities all at once. They're all connected, but there's no single headquarters. Now, this all sounds pretty great in theory, but it definitely leads to a very practical question. How does anything actually get done if there's no boss telling people what to do? So let's look at how you get coordination without command. And there it is, the question that's probably been on your mind this whole time. It seems kind of chaotic, doesn't it? A whole system with no single person in charge? But horizontal networks have actually developed some really sophisticated ways to replace those top-down orders. It really boils down to three key ingredients. First, you have collaboration that's driven by shared goals, not because a manager told you to do it. Second, and this is a big one, is trust. This is like the social glue that holds the whole thing together and makes decentralized decisions possible. And third, there's a concept called quorum. It's really simple. It's just a rule that says a minimum number of people have to agree before a decision is made, like needing 5 out of 10 members to vote yes. It ensures you have buy-in without needing a single boss to sign off. Now, when you combine this kind of structure with these methods of coordination, something pretty amazing starts to happen. The network starts to show these properties that no single person in it possesses on their own. Let's just call them the network's superpowers. And the most important superpower of all is resilience. I mean, just look at this. The difference is night and day. A vertical system is brittle. You take out one key piece and its ability to function just plummets. But a horizontal network, with all that built-in redundancy and all those different pathways, it can lose multiple nodes and just keep going. It adapts. It routes around the damage. And it really doesn't stop there. Good ideas and new innovations spread like wildfire through these networks because there are no gatekeepers to say no. Knowledge is spread out everywhere, not trapped in one person's head or one department. The system as a whole becomes incredibly robust and adaptive, able to solve problems together in real time. And this quote just nails it. The strength of the web isn't in a single, all-powerful point at the top. No. It's in the messiness, the overlapping connections, that entanglement. That is where its true power really lies. So, as we look at everything, from how we work to how we organize for social change, the very structures we use are up for debate. We know the future is going to be more connected than ever before. The only real question left for us to answer is, what shape is that connection going to take? The rigid, fragile pyramid or the resilient, adaptive web?